Oh, folks, it's like Christmas Eve for us Football Manager players. Football Manager 2023, the full version of the game, releases tomorrow, which means my marquee series that I do every year, Non-League to Legend, also starts tomorrow, Tuesday, 8th of November, 4 p.m. It'll be here on the channel as a premiere. You're not going to want to miss it. But first, I need to just explain how Non-League to Legend is a little bit different from a typical Football Manager YouTube save. If you've watched it over the previous years, this is actually going to be the 8th iteration of Non-League to Legend we've done. If you've watched it previously, these rules will be very familiar to you. It'll act as a little bit of a refresher to remind you of what you're getting yourself in for. If you are new, though, this is important because we do things a little bit differently here. So strap yourself in, get ready to watch the brand new intro for FM23. And the other side of that, I'll explain the rules of Non-League to Legend. Hello folks and welcome to the traditional Non-League to Legend rules episode. I'm Kev, and in this video I'm going to explain how we play Non-League to Legend and make sure that it is a little bit different from your typical Football Manager save. Before we get into that though, a couple of little bits of housekeeping. It's got to be done at this time of year. Firstly, make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on this video. It is a huge difference maker for just getting these videos out in front of people, especially during the launch period. The more likes, the more comments, the more people will end up viewing the videos, which is better for all of us. So if you could leave a thumbs up, that would be super, and also shows me just how excited you are for this year's Non-League to Legend. Secondly, of course, make sure you are subscribed with your notifications on. The new series starts tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it. Make sure you've got a notification coming in so you can be there live in the premiere when episode 1 drops, and also be part of making sure that you get an episode 2 tomorrow as well. All the details of that will be in episode 1 tomorrow. You know the drill if you've been around previously. And lastly, and arguably most importantly, today, as I'm recording this, Monday, the 7th of November, today is the last day you can get FM23 at its super discounted pre-order price. My 5% discount that you can get with my discount code LOLLUJO, it's down in the comments below. That's going to be staying. That's not going anywhere. That gets you 5% off whatever the game is sold for. But at the moment, you also get a 20% discount off of Sports Interactive. So the game is £35.99, and then you get 5% discount off of that as well to get you down to the £32.04 price that I'm able to get you the game for. However, the Sports Interactive discount goes away as soon as the full game is released. It goes up to its normal retail price of $44.99, and then you're only going to get your 5% discount off of that. So if you haven't got the game yet, you want to get it today if you want to get it for the cheapest possible price. The link is down in the description below. That'll take you through to Fanatical, where I've got my 5% discount code, and you can get it for, like I say, £32 and 5p, I think, not 4p. Oh, I was out by a penny. Hopefully that doesn't upset you too much. And it does support the channel as well. It's a win-win thing. It's the best price you'll find the game for, and also supports the channel. So go check that out. But that's enough of the housekeeping stuff. We need to get into the rules. There are, hold on, how many rules? 6 rules. There used to be 5, but I think I added in another one the other year. There are 6 rules that make Non-League to Legend different from every other save you'll see on YouTube. Because at its core, it's just a journeyman Football Manager save, but it's a journeyman Football Manager save with some big differences. The biggest difference of all is we focus in on realism. It's basically full-on FM roleplay mode. It's why I play it wearing a suit, because if I was a Football Manager in real life, I wouldn't be part of this horrible new trend of Football Managers wearing jeans that I'm seeing more and more, especially in the Premier League. I would wear a suit because I respect the fans too much to not turn up as if I'm ready to do business. So I would wear a suit. So I do wear a suit because we're in roleplay mode, we're in realism mode, and that feeds straight into the rules. Rule number 1, and this is probably the most common question I am asked about Non-League to Legend for people who want to be playing along. That is, how do I choose who I'm going to manage, or how would you choose who you're going to manage in a Non-League to Legend save? It's very simple. You get a map. You work out where in the world you are. For me, I'm in England. You then find the lowest playable league in the vanilla version of FM in the country that you're in. So for me, that is the National League North and South. For your country, it might be the top league. That might be the only one playable in the game. Your country might not even be in Football Manager, in which case find the nearest country. Find their lowest playable league. or just ignore all this and choose England anyway, because England is a good place to start. But you choose the lowest playable league in the country that you're in. I say in the vanilla version of the game because we don't mod non-league to legend in any way. There'll be no downloaded leagues or extra unlocking of stuff. That's not the non-league to legend way. We play this on the vanilla game. So for me, National League North and South, and then just find the nearest club to my house. There is one more proviso for me, because this is the 8th year in a row I've done this on YouTube. I don't want to just manage the same club every year. So for me, it's the nearest club to my house that I haven't previously started at in a non-league to legend series. I've got the list of clubs I've managed previously. I have to write it down these days because we've done 7 of these in the past. These series are all still on the channel. If you go the way back to the first one, you'll see a much thinner, less hairier, less confident version of me with terrible camera and PowerPoint. I don't know why I used PowerPoint. But the teams I've started up previously are Boston, Gainsborough, Alfreton, St Albans, Kings Lynn, Kettering, and last year, Leamington. We all loved the Leamington save last year. We actually carried on all the way through to a Champions League win with Leamington. We took it over to Twitch after we left the club here on YouTube. But bearing in mind I've already managed those 7, I need the next nearest club to my house. But thankfully, promotion and relegation is a thing. And this year is a particularly exciting year because Peterborough Sports, not to be confused with Peterborough United, nothing to do with Peterborough United, the team I support in real life. Peterborough Sports, who were a tiny little club down in the lower reaches of the footballing world 3, 4, 5 years ago. They've had a lot of promotions over the last few years. They have made their way into the National League North in their tiny little ground with their tiny little amount of infrastructure. It is the lowest reputation starting club I will have ever have used in non-league to legend. It should be the biggest challenge we've ever had. I'm going to be managing Peterborough Sports, and it's going to be awesome because it's, like I say, going to be the hardest non-league to legend we've ever done. Moving on to rule number 2, and that is kind of an emphasis of the overarching club vision that we have for the series, and that is everything has to be based on realism. We engage full realism mode, and I'm particularly talking about in terms of moving clubs, moving divisions, basically any decision that you would make in game. The big one is all about moving clubs because it's not a one club save. We will move clubs, but we will move clubs based on what we would realistically do in real life. The way I always explain it is if I am managing down in the National League North and earning £500 a week, I'm not going to quit that job and go and manage in Argentina for £600 a week, for example, because in real life, I'm not going to quit a job and move to a different continent just to get an extra £100 a week. That's not a normal decision that a person would make. However, if I get offered £10,000 a week to go and manage in Argentina, even if I don't particularly want to go, if I'm only earning £500 a week where I am at the moment, I'm probably going to Argentina for a bit because that's a huge amount of extra money. I know people get an extra sense of loyalty when it comes to football, and you might think that in reality you wouldn't go and manage your rival club or a bigger club no matter how much money they give you. I assure you, if you were doing this for real, if this was really your job, you're probably going to follow the money once the numbers start getting big enough, once there's enough zeros involved. So that does mean starting with Peterborough Sports, if we get a couple of seasons in and we get a big offer to go and manage a League 2 club, even if it's a failing League 2 club, the scenario we've had come up in the past is we might be top of the National League and get offered a job at the club bottom of League 2, and everyone knows that within 6 months, those clubs are going to swap place, and the club I'm at now, I've got the momentum, and I know the players, and I've built the team in my image, and probably for my long-term career, I'm probably better off staying where I am. But if that League 2 club offered to treble my salary, I don't care about any of that. I'm going to that League 2 club. I'm taking the relegation if I have to. I'm going to follow the money, and I'm going to do what I would realistically do in real life. What it also means, putting realism mode in, is that as I get deeper into my career, money might become less important as well. Obviously, early on, when I'm earning closer to normal money, I am going to chase that money around. But if I've already earned £20 million in my career, I might decide that it'll be fun to go and manage a team that I like the look of or looks like an interesting challenge, or stay at a club to finish the job, or go somewhere that I've got unfinished business. But it all comes back to realism. It's all based on what I believe I would do in real life. And we apply that to every decision that is made in the game, not just who we're going to manage, but down to the staff members that we might hire, the players that we sign, the formations that we play. I'm not going to play a glitchy formation just because it's glitchy in the FM23 match engine. I'm going to play the formations and the style of football that I'd want to play in real life. This next one's always a little bit controversial because there's always people in the comment section who say, actually, Kev, you can do this in real life. I'm still maintain you can't. Non-League to Legend has its origins back in the lower league manager style of play from the Sports Interactive forums from years ago. And one hard and fast rule that has always been there and will always be there in Non-League to Legend is we don't touch the player search screen. We don't touch the staff search screens. We don't mess around filtering attributes, trying to find new versions of the players that we've currently got or anything like that. We are not messing around doing player searches, anything on those lines. The players that we sign are always recommended by my scouts or another member of staff within the club. So mainly we're going to be working on scout reports using the new recruitment system in FM23. That's going to be where we sign the bulk of our players from. But also, I'm okay with asking for recommendations from my director of football. I think that's something you would do in real life. You've got a guy there whose job is literally to find you players. I don't think it's against realism to go and ask him, who do you think we should sign at left back, and get some recommendations. I'm still going to scout those players. I'm not just going to go and sign them immediately. I want other points of view. And likewise, if you bring a new coach into the club, I don't think it's unrealistic to say to them, anyone from your former club you might recommend. So I'll click that ask for player recommendation button. If it's your new physio coming in, I'm less likely to ask because I don't really care on my physio's opinion of who we should be playing at defensive midfield. But all new signings do come through those routes. Staff recommendations, scout recommendations, even bringing in free transfers, bringing in trials, that kind of thing. I'm not going to go to the player search screen and just filter all of the left backs that are available and bring them all in on trial. I'll go to my director of football and ask him for free transfer recommendations and bring those in on trial, or I'll have a look at my list of already scouted players who's available for free. We'll bring them in on trial. I'm not ever going to that player search screen ever, ever, ever. It's forbidden. It's off limit. It's called something different this year as well. I don't remember what it's called, but either way, we ain't going anywhere near it. And likewise with staff, the only way we hire new staff, well, there's two ways. One is we put out a job advert and hire someone who applies. And when we get that list through of people who apply as well, we're definitely going to prioritize people who are already at the club. So if our under-18 coach applies to be assistant manager, he'll get the job ahead of an outside assistant manager. I hope he's not rubbish. But we hire from within, we promote from within. The only other way we do it is we might, once we get a director of football, ask them, or a technical director, ask them to take care of hiring staff for me. Probably not all staff. Like, I'm probably going to hire my own assistant manager because it's a key role, but I'm probably quite happy to let my technical director hire the under-18s coaches once we get to the point where we're at a club of that kind of size. But the important thing is we are never going to those search screens. We are never making these decisions based on attributes. And talking of attributes, rule number 4, we always play with attribute masking on. There's no explanation needed for this one. Just have attribute masking on. You shouldn't be able to click on the Argentinian second division and be able to see what the first touch rating of their 17-year-old goalkeeper is. That's not realistic in any way. If you want to know about a player, scout them. And quite frankly, you probably shouldn't be rooting through squad lists in the Argentinian second division unless that's the league you're playing in. Because again, you ain't doing that in real life if you're managing in the Conference North. You're scouting local to where your club is. But yeah, always attribute masking on. If you want to know about a player, you scout them. Looping back around to staff a minute for rule number 5. This is the new one that we added a couple of years ago, and that is we show loyalty to our staff. It's very easy in Football Manager when you get a couple of promotions to just throw all your staff out because they're not good enough for the league you're in anymore and bringing in a whole load of new staff. And to me, it starts to make the game very, very easy. If you've always got the best staff at every club you're at every league you're at, it's one of those things. We try to balance realism with also making the game challenging. It's very easy to make Football Manager very easy. And I try and avoid the things that make it very easy. So we won't sack staff unless there's a reason to sack them. And a reason to sack them isn't that their attributes aren't good enough. It'll be things like we might sack a scout or two if they consistently recommend players that are rubbish. That's a reason to sack somebody. or we might sack the assistant manager if they're constantly recommending a squad selection that's completely different to the one that we want to use. We might sack a director of football if they keep telling me to transfer list a player we don't want to get rid of. But what we're not going to do is get rid of someone just because their attributes are low, because that's just not how it works around here. And then finally, rule number 6, I've run out of fingers. This is why we used to have 5 rules. Rule number 6 is we bring no outside knowledge to the game whatsoever. That means we do not sign players based on the fact we know who they are in real life. I've got Ivan Toney's signed football boot behind me there. But if Ivan Toney doesn't show up in my scout reports, I can never sign Ivan Toney in non-league to legend. Just because I know who he is in real life, that is not enough of a reason to go and scout him or go and look for him or bring him in because I know who he is and I know he'll be good. That's not how it works. Likewise, I ignore player recommendations that come out of the comments section for the same reason. We only bring in players if they come up from our scouts or other members of staff. The outside knowledge thing also means we don't use any kind of downloaded tactics. We don't download player shortlists, Wonder Kid shortlists, anything like that. Fancy training schedules, none of that stuff. We do everything within the game. So I can use the tactical presets that are within the game. I can come up with my own tactics. I can mess around with training myself. But what I can't do is bring in stuff that somebody else has created, bring it into my save and pretend that it's real. Because that's, again, it's not how non-league to legend works. It's all about balancing realism and difficulty and trying to make a save that's going to last us 6 months. It's going to be challenging, but not nightmarishly challenging. And it's going to be fun and realistic. And just, we've been doing it 7 years. I know this is a fun way to play the game. And one of the great things about it, because we disregard attributes the way we do, because we focus so much on listening to the staff that are at the club, we often get things completely wrong as well. And that's one of my favourite things about non-league to legend. I'll sign players and they'll end up being rubbish. And it's fine because that's just how real football works. Football Manager, for me, it breaks that realism once you start making it so you can't fail with your transfers. If you bring in 5 players, they all go straight into your first team. They're all brilliant. It's not how real life football works. If you can pick any club in world football, look at their last 10 signings. I guarantee they're not 10 hits. That's just not how real football works. And playing with this set of rules allows us to simulate that a lot better than abusing the player search and the attribute search stuff. And just, you can make it so that you can never get it wrong. And then the game becomes really, really easy. And we don't want it to be really, really easy. We want a challenge. We want to fail sometimes because success is so much more satisfying if it's followed by loads of failures. I am the guy who's lost 17 consecutive playoffs going back to FM20. When we eventually win a playoff, you can be sure it's going to bring a tear to my eye. I'm going to be so excited. And that's because we've lost so many. So losing is good sometimes. But they are the rules to non-league to legend. Let me know down in the comments if you're going to be playing along. And if you are, who you're going to be managing. It's always fun when people play along and finding out who their local teams are. But don't let me know that you disagree with any of the rules, because 8 years in, they ain't changing. You can play this way if you want. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I'm going to play this way, regardless of whether you like it or not. Hopefully you will, and hopefully you'll join us. And we'll have lots of fun in the 8th annual version of Non-League to Legend, which starts tomorrow, 4 p.m. It will be a channel premiere, 4 p.m. tomorrow, Peterborough Sports. It's going to be spectacular, and hopefully you come along and enjoy the ride with me. If you've enjoyed this video, or if you're just excited for Non-League to Legend, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and so you don't miss out on all the exciting content we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks. Thank you very much for watching.